And that produced tensions, of course, because, you know, I began to feel that I knew better than the writers. This is a fatal state of mind, and produces tension, because without the writers we're nowhere. And so I then began, you know, to have influence on inserting particular idiocies. I notice on my website that people keep sending photographs and asking me to write, "Would you like a jelly baby?" And I think, yeah, that's okay, you know, but it's only been running 6 weeks, and I've signed 6,000 photographs, and they all want to say, "Would you like a jelly baby?" Or they want me to say, "What's the point of being grown up if you can't be silly sometimes?" And so all these lines have stayed there haunting, which were put in with lovely directors like David Maloney or Chris Barry and people like that. We often used to improvise and try things out, you know, and sometimes they stuck. And I like that. But gradually, yes, there were tensions. Because after the glory days of Philip Hinchcliffe, that was simply wonderful. And he was very young, you know, not long down from Cambridge, and so good looking and modern and everything like that. And especially he laughed at my jokes, so naturally I felt, you know, I adored him. I'm very vulnerable in that way. If you really want to take advantage of me, just keep laughing. There is a word for it, but it escapes me now. Maybe the word's inadequacy. But after that happened, Philip had a wonderful way of inducing performances in people and seeming to suggest that it was your idea, when in fact it was his, you know. It's an old gag, but when it's pulled off, it's very brilliant, you know. It's on both sides, thus is simple truth suppressed. It was very powerful. And then it was followed in by poor Graham Williams, who was charming and everything like that, but he grated on me. And he didn't always approve of my ideas, you know, and this produced terrible tensions and made me stroppy. It really made me stroppy. At that time, I wasn't all that cheerful in real life, you know, and so playing Doctor Who was the only comfort I had. And so when I used to see the clock going round 4:30 in the afternoon, and I used to think, the other actors would be looking at their watches because they had to go home to real life, to babies and wives and ironing, I suppose. And I was going to be left here, you know. And I couldn't say to them, "Can we go on for another hour?" We couldn't do that. So that's how it became obsessional to me. So I wanted to be this character, and I wanted that to go on all the time, and to keep the realities at bay. This is quite a very serious state of mind, you know, and I was dodging reality, which of course we do all the time in many ways. One might say, you know, that kind of big irrational impulses are dangerous, because, I mean, after all, the irrational impulse to believe in religion, to believe in supernatural beings, the irrational impulse in a little village where I live, Tenterden, where obviously all the women, I had a woman say in Waterstones the other day, a very old lady, older than me, and she said, excuse me, she said, "Have you got anything about murder?" And so the guy said, "Well, yes." He said, "We've got thousands of books." Oh, she said, "I mean something really grisly." Grisly. She said, "I like gristle and screaming and horror." She said, "Because my husband died 2 weeks ago, and really I need a bit of a lift." And you think to yourself, glancing around the book, you think, oh, in the Oxfam shops, we are, or most of us, seem to be obsessed with crime, don't we? And I suppose this is because that in real life, we have to worry about our health or earning a living or whether our children are happy and so on. But in the other room of our imaginations, we want to escape, and we don't want peace on earth to men of goodwill. We want stories about incest, you know, and betrayal, and murder, and, you know, and hunting, and slaughter on a big scale, and old ladies, you know, pulling young men. It's quite difficult to pull that one off, because the audience was often sceptical about that. But it can be done. It can be done. And so we move. So we're in our imagination. There's no limit to it, is it? It's simply wonderful. And without these irrational impulses, which people condemn, say, Graham used to say to me, "You're so irrational, Tom." The thing is, without irrational impulses, there would be no religion. That's a big irrational impulse, maybe the biggest of them all. There would be no art. The creation of art springs somewhere along the line out of people seeing things in a different way, which seems irrational. There would be no love. Would there? What could be more irrational than, people when they fall in love? I mean, the first thing, you can always tell when someone's in love. Often they're trembling from head to foot. But the other thing that I notice is that they always have an idiotic expression on their face. There are other signs, but I won't go into that. And so all this is a roundabout way of how I arrived doing something which fulfilled me entirely in its sweetness and idiocy and its absence of malice. And the enemy were never human beings, really, were they? They were, robots and it was that same old story. It's the best of all. The Doctor was protecting resources on other planets, and we always sided with him. And all that meandering I've just done for you prepared me for that. And so I felt, and still feel like that, really. And of course, among certain groups of people, like you, I can get away with murder. Because we are bonded by that imaginative impulse and imaginative empathy that brings you here today, and brings me as well, of something in the past, of an irrational impulse. As a doctor, in that idiotic box with little John Leeson and Louise or other girls. And also the thing is that when the girl changed, it's an extraordinary thing is that when Jeremy Brett, who was wonderful at Holmes, David Burke played Watson in the first series. David Burke didn't want to play Watson for long, so he gave it up. And Holmes, who can see anything, Holmes notices all sorts of things, doesn't he? Holmes, what he does, he's a bit of a comic really, but Holmes will say something, say, "I see you're not wearing any trousers today." And Watson has to say, "Good heavens, no." But anyway, Jeremy, who was the sublime Holmes in the second series, he said, "Another thing, Watson," and the camera came up on Edward Hardwicke. And we all said, "Wow, that's Edward Hardwicke, what happened to David Burke?" But Holmes didn't even notice. It's absolutely incredible, isn't it? Holmes, well, of course, he wasn't very good with women, but imagine someone said, "Anyway, I got into bed and I woke up the next morning and it wasn't my wife." Was it really? Is that true? He said, "Yeah, honestly, as true as God's my judge, I woke." And he said, "But she was quiet all night." No, she was talking all night. She was talking all night? And you still didn't realise it? Did she sound like your wife? Well, no, come to think of it, she didn't. I just come back from the Rose and Crown. That's the way it goes, isn't it? Right. Irrational impulse, you see. Next.
I'm glad you're out of because I think Doctor Who, you mentioned Doctor Who being an escape. I think for a lot of people it's a common thing that Doctor Who enabled us to escape from things in our childhood and galvanised us and made us curious and all those sorts of things. But as we grew up, we started seeing behind-the-scenes stuff and seeing stuff. Tom Baker, who you say you were very happy doing it, but you got very protective and you sometimes got very cross. There's a brilliant interview that Frank Boff does with you on the television. I don't know if you've ever seen this, where you are in a very bad mood for some reason. And he says, "Well, do people stop you because you're Doctor Who?" And you go, "Well, I'm not Doctor Who any more than you're Frank Boff." And he goes, "Well, I am Frank Boff." And you go, "No, you're not. People don't think you're real." And so there seems to be this sort of fire in you sometimes when you were the Doctor, and was that because you were worried that the good times would go, or was it because you weren't allowing yourself to enjoy it? Or?
Yeah, you're very perspicacious. The thing is about everything that's wonderful in our lives makes you happy, and at the same time produces tension and fear, doesn't it? When we're happy, demons inside say, you say, I'm so happy, and your friend says, yeah, well, we'll see. Because what we have, which is precious, also fills us with anxiety in case we lose it. Shakespeare, in his sonnets and his plays, but in his sonnets particularly, when he talks, when he's abjectly loving a woman or a man, his abject love makes him anxious, so that he sees someone inspires me. And people feel that. You see that, don't you, all the time, when you see a happy mother watching. I mean, you can't actually have a conversation with a happy young mother, can you? You can't, because she's not thinking about it. You're saying, anyway, because you say, anyway, I think, and she's saying, George, where are you? So, you never have a conversation. And why would she want to have a conversation when she's happy? Why would she want to have a conversation when she's got a lovely baby, or 2 lovely babies, or 3 to look after, and perhaps a kind husband? You know, that's the great drama, isn't it? I think that what we have and cherish at the same time fills us with fear. Finally, of course, it fills us with fear when our own disappearance comes, which is, I imagine, the origin of all religions, all those thousands of gods from the past, where people in the olden days were trying to find an explanation of natural phenomena. In a sense, religion in those days was the original science and technology, because it explained thunder, it explained the seasons, by analogy of gods who went down and people up there in the sky. It explained things to us, comforted us, because the idea of our own annihilation, no one has ever experienced death. Well, Jesus did, the Son of God, that's what they say. Well, he should know. Because, death is a state of unbeing. We can't imagine it. So I think that it would be a good idea at this moment to ask Toby to ask me another question.
Well, you were talking about Death, the Big Finish, so why don't I talk? So you returned to the role of the Doctor. You took some persuading, but you've returned to the role of the Doctor for Big Finish, and you've done it with great gusto, and you seem to produce a load of stuff. So how's it been coming back to the role?
Well, it wasn't coming back. I never left it. When later on, I had to go to the theatre because I was a well-known name then. But I mean, the Doctor had such an effect on me. When I played Macbeth, gruesome Macbeth, and afterwards some of the critics said, I went to see Tom Baker last night as Macbeth, said one critic, and I had no idea he was such a sweet man. And they said the same when they saw my Jack the Ripper. They said, what a darling, what a darling. And one sarcastic bugger said, do you know that fellow playing Jack the Ripper, he'd make a fabulous Doctor Who. So it never really went away, So this is because, of course, the audience was in the heyday, just after I left. In my heyday, the theatres were full of, for educating Rita or, I don't know, She Stoops to Conquer, it doesn't matter. And people were coming to see Doctor Who, whether they liked it or not, that's what people come and see, characters that they love. So quite naturally, everything I did in the style of Doctor Who, which other actors didn't approve of. Because some other actors, if they haven't played Doctor Who, can be quite small-minded. So I would roll my eyes or do things in the style of Doctor Who, getting gales of laughter at the most inappropriate time, especially when I was murdering children in Macbeth. So although I was having a good time, I realized, in fact, what the audience want to see and enjoy and laugh at is the familiarity of the character that one played. It's not exactly being such an amazing actor. You go along, people say, who's that up there? And they say, well, that's George Clooney. And they say, nah, George Clooney's got a hump on his back. Yeah, I look at his wife, he said, it's a play, we need the familiarity of things, don't we? So this whole idea of an actor being unrecognisable is no good to his career at all. He's got to be very recognisable. That's what it means to be a star. I mean, if some fella came down, you know, paper wings and a hump on his back and said to some little Jewish virgin, "Fear not, Mary, I've got a message for you," she'd say, "Oh, piss off." You're supposed to be 6'3", looking like George Clooney and silver wings. We need that familiarity, don't we? I mean, I hope you agree with me, because if you do, I'm very vulnerable, yeah.